Ivan Milat, who died on Sunday, is one of the most notorious serial killers in Australia's history. Ivan Robert Marko Milat, commonly referred to in media as the backpacker murderer, was an Australian serial killer who abducted, assaulted, robbed and murdered 2 men and 5 women in New South Wales between 1989 and 1992. His modus operandi was to approach backpackers along the Hume Highway under the guise of providing them transport to areas of southern New South Wales, then take his victims into the Belanglo State Forest where he would incapacitate and murder them. Milat is also suspected of having committed many other similar offences around Australia. Between 1989 and 1992, he kidnapped and murdered at least 7 victims aged 19 to 22, 3 Germans, 2 Britons and 2 Australians. The backpackers were picked up when hitchhiking on a long stretch of road between Sydney and Melbourne, some in pairs, others alone. Each was taken into the Belanglo State Forest in New South Wales. Forensic reports showed bullet and stab wounds on the bodies of his victims, with evidence suggesting they may not have died instantly from their many injuries. Once murdered, they were partially buried in a shallow grave, face down, with hands behind their backs. The victims, Caroline Clark, Joanne Walters, Simone Schmidl, Anya Habschied, Gabor Neugebauer, James Gibson and Deborah Everest, were a deliberate target because of their vulnerability. They relied on the goodwill of motorists, says University of Sydney criminology expert Dr. Tyrone Kirchengast. And it was a time before mobile phones, they were completely isolated. In court, Milat's defense lawyers tried unsuccessfully to shift the blame onto his brother Richard, one of 14 siblings. Milat and some of his brothers had had trouble with the law, and police more than once visited the family's rural farm. In 1971, 2 female hitchhikers testified against Milat for alleged rape at knife point, but he was acquitted. For years, he escaped detection for the backpacker killings, and very nearly escaped conviction altogether. That was until a British man called Paul Onions changed everything. Milat had pulled over to pick up hitchhiker Mr. Onions in 1990. Seeing a rope and a gun in the car, Mr. Onions realized he was in grave danger. He managed to escape, with Milat in pursuit of him on foot along the Hume Highway, where he ensnared his victims. Mr. Onions avoided the bullets Milat was firing and flagged down another motorist, who took him to the nearest police station in a small town, Bowral. Mr. Onions rushed in to give a report, but he has said police merely handed him $10 Australian, £5, $7, to get back to the British High Commission in Sydney. The report lay filed in a drawer at Bowral Police Station for years. Years later, Mr. Onions, then back in the UK, saw media reports about the remains of bodies found in Belanglo State Forest. He called the Australian Federal Police, reminding them of his ordeal. They responded by immediately flying him back to Australia in 1996, where an investigation was underway. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.